Welcome back for another episode of Civility Wins the Family Law Edition. I am Kristen Goss, your host, founder and owner of KWG Family Legal and Mediation Services, and I am joined today with my great friend and colleague, William Gerstein, Esquire. He is a board-certified immigration attorney, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of his credentials, and then we'll get into our discussion today. I'm looking forward to it. William Gerstein, he's a partner in the law firm. He is a member of the Florida and Georgia state bars. He has also been admitted to the United States Federal Court for the Southern District of Florida. Mr. Gerstein is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, certified as an expert in immigration and nationality law by the Florida Bar, and has been practicing U.S. immigration law since 1995. Mr. Gerstein earned his bachelor's degree in international relations with minors in Spanish. Ooh, habla español?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I minored in Spanish as well. Awesome. And Italian from Tulane University in 1992, and then went on to complete his law degree at St. Thomas University in 1995. Mr. Gerstein speaks Spanish and Italian and has served thousands of clients in his years of dedicated immigration practice. He can be contacted, and we'll also share that information at the end, but his email is wg@usaimmigrationlaw.com. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And so there are a lot of things that I have for you, a lot of questions, being in immigration and then as a divorce attorney. But I guess the first question to start off with is if you can share with the audience how you ended up getting into immigration. Sometimes, and oftentimes there's a story behind certain things. And so I'm just curious to know how you ended up into immigration and what some of the services you provide.
So my interest stems from many other interests that I had before this. So as you see, I'm interested in like foreign language and travel. I love maps and geography. I could sit in my bed at night and go on Google Earth and look around everywhere. And when I was in law school, we were given a lot of opportunities. We had a class, we had a clinic. They set me up with a paid internship while I was, I think, in my second or third year. And then I also had a job with a private attorney that was doing immigration work. And so it was very immersive. And one of the reasons I like it, which I guess is different than what you do, is that there aren't necessarily losers at the end. Where in a divorce, there might be. I know when you're doing a collaborative, you're trying to avoid that. But generally, when we accomplish somebody's goal, it comes with a great deal of relief and joy. And not necessarily at the expense of the other side, which unfortunately happens in some areas of law.
Awesome. And so there are a lot of, I know, collaborations between divorce and immigration, especially today and what's going on. Just to share, I've had a few prenups that I had to do in regards to immigration concerns and issues. And so my next question is that we're in the legal industry and laws are constantly changing. If you can share with the audience the top 3 things, I'm sure, those viewers out there who may have divorce issues or immigration concerns, what are the top 3 things that you would share with them as far as changes in the law that they should be on the lookout for?
Well, first, I would say that it's really important to consult with an attorney, because the reality is that you don't even know all of the things out there that you don't know that you need to consider. And I find this all the time when I speak to potential clients. They say, well, I didn't even know that was an option, or I didn't even know I was supposed to do that. So that's really important. Timing is important also, whether we're rushing to get something done, or if we're waiting for a particular time. We're working on a case together now, the two of us, where we're trying to get, or you are trying to get, this nice lady divorced, because if she's divorced, then she's going to immediately be eligible for a green card by a sponsorship from her mother, where she would be eligible right now upon divorce. Whereas if she remains married, she's in a different category that is backlogged by many years. And she's desperately trying to make a home for her children. And hopefully we're able to accomplish our goals. Other than that, with this new administration, we're living in a time of deep anti-immigrant sentiment, which I think is unfortunate. That many people just hear stories on the news, but they don't really know anybody or have any personal relation to know how important immigrants are to our society and our economy as well. There are a lot of enforcement measures that are going on right now, and scaring people in the airports. So I'm hearing all the time from clients saying, do you think I should travel? Is it okay for me to travel? What should I do? I've got to go home because my mom's got this surgery. So we have to assess their individual situations to see how vulnerable they may be. Most of the people I can say, that you should be perfectly fine. There's others that I say, I wouldn't do it, even if it was urgent. I wouldn't do it. So these are the sorts of things that are going on right now. In addition, something that took place even before the current administration is that the Customs and Border Protection at the airport or at land borders are able to look through your electronic devices. Whereas in the past, I think that maybe they were looking for things like people that are working here that are not supposed to, or people that aren't necessarily coming here for the purpose of their original visa approval. However, it's becoming a bit more dark in the sense that they might be looking at social media and what's your opinion on certain things that this administration is in favor or against. So that alone is a bit scary. And the ultimate protection is to be a U.S. citizen. So you have to be a permanent resident first, anywhere from a day if you're in the military, up to 5 years, you'd have to be a permanent resident to qualify. And we're telling people that are residents that are qualified now that they should be applying for their citizenship through the naturalization process, or even to have us evaluate your family tree and family relationships to determine if you're already a citizen. Because once you're a citizen, you of course can't be denied entry into the U.S.
I have a lot of questions
All
for
right.
you, but I'll narrow it down. So I just thought of the 1995, right? That's 30 years that you've been
Yes.
practicing as an immigration attorney, and he's board certified. And I will defer to you on the percentage of board certified immigration attorneys. But in your 30 years of practice, I'm sure there's at least one story that stands out, that you're like, a happy story, right? Because in your industry, it's all about making sure that you create, a dream, the American dream, as people say, for those who want to come and become citizens. So is there a story that you can share that you're like, yeah, I remember that family, I remember that client, and we were able to do X, Y, and Z for him or her? And
Yeah. So generally, if we're able to pull a rabbit out of a hat like a surprise,
Yeah.
that's when people are most happy. So there are some complex situations where a citizen may have sponsored a relative, and then sometime before their quota became current, the person died, and then there can be. Well, first of all, the petition is immediately revoked because of that, and a reinstatement could be possible based on certain technical circumstances, even if there was a derivative relative that was in the U.S. at the time that the petitioner or the citizen that was making the petition died. We had a case where we were able to bring the rest of the family to the U.S. and make an application showing that they deserve this humanitarian reinstatement. And we were able to turn 5 people from visitors, and one was a student, into permanent residents. We had another case recently where I was contacted by an American citizen living in France. He was born in the U.S. and he moved to Europe as a child and then came back in high school for a bit of time, went back to Europe, got married, had kids. Now he's got kids, 18 and 21. And he went to apply for a U.S. passport for his 21-year-old. This was some years ago. And he was denied by one of the U.S. consulates in France because he couldn't show that he had the requisite time and ties to the U.S. before his son was born to be able to transmit citizenship to him. So we were able to sort of work with him, digging up, coming up with ideas of what we could dig up from his past, of where he could go for certain information. And we compiled a presentation to the U.S. Embassy in Paris. They asked for a few more pieces of documentation, which we were able to provide. And then the son was granted U.S. citizenship, or recognized that he was already a U.S. citizen by granting him a passport. So that was a nice thing, too, when you can sort of piece these things together from the past.
So going back to the previous question, as a divorce attorney, I know especially now there are a lot of, collaborations that we do. Is there something additional that you wanted to share? Because I know timing is of the essence, and depending on, the circumstance, you can hold off with a divorce, or you need to push it forward. So can you share a little bit more about that with the audience?
So one of the types of cases that we work on are called VAWA, which means Violence Against Women Act. So if you have, and it applies to not just to women, but to everybody. But if you have a person that is married or believes that they are married, because that's interesting, meaning that they could be put through this whole ceremony, even though they don't even know that there was supposed to be a civil certificate or something of that nature. So if you have a person that is married or believes that they're married to a U.S. citizen that is abused either physically or emotionally or mentally tortured, we are able to, and also what normally goes along in these relationships is that the U.S. citizen is constantly threatening to pull the rug out of from under this person in the immigration sense. I'm going to report you. They're going to come to the house and deport you if you don't listen to everything that I say and do what I say. And so people don't realize that they don't have to put up with this, that there is a path forward that we can apply by proving that they're married or thought that they were married to a citizen, proving that there was a genuine relationship, that there's actually some documentation that they're really together, and proving the abuse, and also we have to prove that the person that's applying is a person of good moral character, that they're not equally involved in getting mixed up in this. So people think that they have to stay married to this guy or to this person, and then they have to sit there and put up with it. But we do have a path forward, and even if you're able to get this person divorced, we can still do it up to 2 years after that, which is something that people don't realize. But that's another sort of place where we collaborate, and the timing may be an issue in it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
So the next question I have for you are, what are some projects that you are currently working on, whether work-related or anything that you would want the audience to know?
Well, one thing that attracted me to liking you is that we're not just lawyers, but you're a real business person. And we met on Provisors, which is a professional networking group. And I remember at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, you would say you're tearing everything down and you're building it back up. So I know that you're truly one of these people that work on their business as opposed to just in their business. And that's always my goal too, is that I want to be involved in building something bigger and better, and mentoring the people that work in our office. So we frequently host law students, college students, where I'm able to train them and impart knowledge. But I'm always thinking about how we can do things better, how we can improve technologically, how we could be more efficient, how we can utilize resources, not just for the people physically in the office, but even people that are outside of our office, and how we can use AI to our advantage as well. So that's something that's always on my mind. We work with a business coach. When I say we, my wife and I, we met in law school, and we're business partners in addition to being life partners. And another one of the attorneys in our office is Michael, our son, who just graduated 10 months ago, and he's been a lawyer now for about 5 months.
That's awesome.
So that occupies a lot on the business side. On the personal side, well, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but aside from studying Spanish and Italian in college and having a love for geography and travel, I studied international relations, which is political science with sort of an international flair. It did require studying foreign language, and it did require studying economics as well. So I am constantly keeping up to date with reputable sources of information on what goes on in our world. And in particular, I have a strong passion regarding the war in Ukraine. I listen to a podcast every weekday called Ukraine the Latest, and it's put on by The Telegraph, which is a British newspaper, and it's very well done and done with a lot of perspective. So I follow that, and I've also made contact with some families in Ukraine that have soldiers in the family, where I've been able to send them materials to help them to survive and to fight. Because if we as individuals don't care about our fellow man, then I feel like we're not much of a society. So I've done. One of my passions is droning, flying a drone. So I have I bought some for soldiers and sent them over there. I've bought an infrared scope where you can see what's going on at night, and then all kinds of little creature comforts just to make things a little bit nicer for them, like hand warmers for the winter and the different candies that they like. I bought go to Costco for Snickers and Nutella and those sweet and sour gummy worms, things like that. So that's a big passion and forms a big part of my understanding of the world and how governments and people work.
That's awesome. It's all about that,
Yep.
making the world a better place and reaching out to fellow humans,
For sure.
So I thank you for sharing. I
Yeah.
learned something new about you. Awesome. So we're about to wrap this up, but before we do, if you can share with the audience if they wanted more information or if someone has an issue that you can address and help them with, where could they find you?
So we are based in Fort Lauderdale, but we have a nationwide reach. And what I mean by that is that we advertise to and we service clients all over the United States, as far away as Hawaii and Puerto Rico and Alaska and Maine, all four corners. We have a website, is usaimmigrationlaw.com. We have a toll-free number, that's 888-811-2438. So I speak with people every day from all over the U.S., on video, on phone, and a lot of there's immigrant populations in all kinds of places that you wouldn't even think of, but there are not immigration lawyers or qualified immigration lawyers in these places. So we have a pretty far reach, working with clients from places where you wouldn't even necessarily expect. But I think one of the most important things in being a lawyer is of course listening and trying to understand people's concerns, but also knowing when to say, or being okay with saying no, either that they're not the right client for you,
Yeah.
or saying, it's not the right time. Like if I was advising my brother or my mom or somebody, this is what I would tell them. And I say, this should mean something to you, because obviously we don't make money by saying no or saying, wait a year, but this is what's best for you. So I think people really appreciate that, and then they do come back.
Yeah. Honesty, mutual respect, communication, all key to being a top-notch attorney, such as my friend here, Bill Gerstein.
That's right.
One last question for you. What is the percentage of board certified immigration attorneys? Do you know?
Well, so there's only 75 or 80 in the U.S., and I'm actually on a committee that prepares and reviews the exam. So not so many people apply, and of the people that apply, not so many pass. It's a difficult exam. It's hard to know how many immigration lawyers are out there, because you could just say that you are one.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But I would say it's a very, very small percentage, because there's got to be thousands of lawyers in our big state, and with only 75 to 80, it represents a very small percentage.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me.
My
It's been
pleasure.
great.
It's great to be here today.
Yes. So that is William Gerstein, Esquire, board certified immigration attorney. Stay tuned for more information and reach out to him if you have further questions. Again, I'm Kristen Goss, the host of today's show. We are Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition. I am the founder and owner of KWG Family Legal and Mediation Services. We are your knowledgeable, warm, and gracious attorneys. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Until next time, take care.